Thank you for joining me at the Transpositions Weekly. This is Bree McCune, and tonight we are talking about summer travel. So it's heating up around the world, heating up more than it should because of climate change, of course. And protest climate change all you want. Just don't deface World Heritage Sites. I just want to throw this out here. Do not deface World Heritage Sites. I don't know if you saw the paint bombs on Stonehenge. It was gross and disrespectful, and yeah, just terrible. But so if you're traveling to England, just be on lookout for those types of activities. But if you're looking for a safe place to travel as a trans person, here's a map. This is from 2023, so this is last year's, but it's the most up to date that I could find on this. As you can see, the darker the shade of pink, the more you are at risk when you're traveling abroad. Now, the U.S. and the U.K. are they're getting in the B's, not doing too bad. Get into the C's when you get into Mexico, though, and you get into the C's when you get into the C's and the D's when you get into some of these countries in Eastern Europe. Western Europe's pretty pink, especially Scandinavia. Canada's looking pretty good. Obviously, no one did any polling in Greenland, so it's kind of not surveyed. Australia looks pretty good, as does South Africa. The rest of Africa, though, not looking great. Angola's all right, but the rest of it's not looking good. Not even Madagascar. So if you had a Madagascar dream vacation in mind, it might not be very safe to go right now if you're a trans person. Cuba, surprisingly, is not too bad. Cuba's somewhere in the same neighborhood as the U.S. as far as the grading scale here. And Russia, obviously, looks terrible on this map. Also looks huge. Russia's not actually that big compared to the rest of the world. This is what they call a Muir crater projection. Africa is bigger than Russia, right? Africa's huge. Africa's as big as these two continents put together. Africa's massive. It just doesn't appear massive on here. So the more troubling area is actually northern and Eastern Africa and the Middle East. Obviously, the Muslim world is not quite ready for transgender people, and they're not afraid to let us know by tossing us off of roofs and things of that nature. So just keep that in mind when you're planning your vacation. All right, so a couple of years ago, Forbes did this ranking of the safest place for LGBT travel. Gave us a few different destinations. The top rated place was Malta. This has been a couple of years ago, but yeah, Malta was ranked pretty high. They give us a concise little list here. So you got Malta, Portugal, Canada, Sweden, and Bolivia. They all have protection for LGBTQ plus people in society. And this is not just for travel. This is like if you're living there or whatever. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to cover today is, we are going to go into some travel stuff specifically, though, so stick around. You're not going to want to miss out on this. Okay, this is the source for that map that we just looked at, and it's got sort of a key for each country and what they have going on. So if you look down here at the bottom, it'll tell you what the different ratings say. Trans murder rate is on here. Transgender legal identity laws, criminalization of violence, protection against discrimination, and worker protection, things like that. As we move up through this list, you'll see they get worse and worse. But getting up into here, you look at things with like a 9.3 on the trans violence. When you look at El Salvador, terrifying statistics from some of these places around the world. So this is from Asher and Lyric. They're like a travel page, but they have a lot of affirming LGBTQ affirming content to let us know safe travel, like you see transgender rights, LGBTQ travel safety, which is what we're looking at. All that good stuff is available here on Asher and Lyric. It's generally pretty up to date. This is, again, map and data from 2023, but that's going to be the most up-to-date full year of statistics that we're going to have. So that's the way that they're going to do it. The year has to finish before they can give us the 2023 statistics on it. And there'll be a new update to this in the coming year. So you can keep your eye on that and watch for changes as legislation is passed around the world that may change your travel plans. So just keeping that in mind. And then there's some LGBTQ safety guides out here that are also a great resource for how to travel safely wherever you want to go. With policies, policies and public acceptance of LGBTQ plus people vary widely from country to country, and even within some countries, laws and attitudes can impact the safety of LGBTQ plus people, but they can also affect the perception of safety in destinations around the world. The reality is that LGBTQ plus people face unique travel issues in every destination. But with a little planning and awareness of where you're visiting, you can enjoy your travel experience just as much as anyone else. In fact, learning about the unique challenges and experiences of LGBTQ plus people within their destinations you're visiting brings us closer together as a community and helps us build empathy for our LGBTQ plus siblings around the world. So selecting your destination is what we're all about, and that's what the maps were about. So we've covered that to kind of give you an idea of where in the world it looks like it's safe to travel. Obviously, state to state within the U.S. is going to have its own unique challenges, but we'll cover that in a follow-up video to this. Right now, this is about international travel, so let's keep that in mind. We will look at the states closer, as we always do. I mean, we're constantly updating our information that we have on the states and where they stand on trans rights and trans health care. So we'll just keep that in mind. What countries have legalized same-sex marriage? So yeah, there's countries where your marriage, if you're in a same-sex marriage, may not even be recognized. As of the publication of this article, a same-sex marriage is legally performed and recognized in 31 countries, and it gives us a nice list here. Nationwide or in some jurisdictions. So there's some technicalities in some states that say you can't have this. Not in the U.S., I don't think. I don't think there's any states in the U.S. I think it's pretty nationalized now that same-sex marriage. But you got to plan your itinerary. That's an important thing to keep other people that aren't coming with you updated on as well, so they know where you're going to be when, so people can have a better idea of where you are and when you're in a higher risk area. You have points of contacts or dates to contact certain people just to keep things safe. So have a nice itinerary of where you're traveling to, and keep people informed. Is it safe to travel to countries where being LGBTQ plus is illegal? All right. This gets a little complicated here because, you're not wearing it on your forehead most of the time. I mean, obviously, for some trans people, it's more difficult, but when you're talking about it being illegal just to perform homosexual acts, or sodomy, I guess is what they call them, sodomy laws, is what's illegal when you're talking about it being illegal to be gay. Or LGBTQ, meaning LGBTQ is illegal. Anyway, traveling to a country that have anti-LGBTQ plus laws or social views can sometimes be risky or outright dangerous. However, it is possible to travel to many of these countries safely. In some cases, if you follow some precautions, it's important to point out that every country is different and that it can be difficult to generalize when providing advice. It's even possible that some regions within the same country may be considered generally safe for LGBTQ plus people, while others distinctly are not. That's why I was saying keep an itinerary so people know where you are and what you're doing each day, each hour of your travels. Stay safe out there, everybody. I want you to be able to have a vacation. We deserve to be able to have vacations and go see the world. See the things before we die. Don't you want to see the things? Everybody needs to be able to see the things. You deserve to see the things too. I just want you to travel safely. That's what we're talking about tonight. All right. For example, Budapest is the capital city of Hungary and has a relatively large, developed LGBTQ plus scene, albeit somewhat underground and not visible to the general public. In this sense, there is some amount of tolerance within this part of Hungary, even if discrimination is commonplace. And there's actually parts of the U.S. like that too. You can go to St. Louis and get treated a lot better than you're going to be in this rural area around here. However, anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and sentiment has been on the rise throughout Hungary in recent years, and in smaller towns and the countryside, intolerance is now the norm. On the other hand, Singapore is another interesting example of a place where homosexuality is still outlawed between gay men, but the law is rarely used for prosecution. The general sentiment and practice in nation state is more of a don't ask, don't tell policy, and could generally be considered safe for LGBTQ plus people to visit. So, a lot of different jurisdictions you're going to have to pay attention to when you're traveling. Sometimes you'll have state, city, just the municipality, whatever, to keep up to date on when you're moving about the world on what you're going to be interacting with and who you're going to be interacting with, and kind of dress and act accordingly, because we don't want you to put yourself at danger just to make a point. Some of these places are extremely dangerous if it becomes known publicly that you are part of the LGBTQ plus community. So just take all the necessary precautions to learn about the areas you're going to and what their laws are. The last thing we want to see is someone end up in jail in some African country where they can't get the proper protection. All right. How can I safely travel to countries that might be considered anti-LGBTQ? There are many other destinations where LGBTQ plus people may be or may not be afforded equal rights, and where acceptance and tolerance of homosexuality is not widespread. The attitude towards LGBTQ plus people in these countries is not always uniform, and accepted can vary dramatically. Viewpoints are often influenced by religion, age, education, and background. That's the same thing as, again, I know I said we weren't going to cover moving around the U.S. right now, but that's the same thing you're going to find moving around the U.S. Obviously, there's a section here about immigration, which isn't really what we're talking about today. Most major hotel chains have an LGBTQ plus affirming policy in place and are actively improving their staff's diversity training, but some travelers may feel most comfortable with an LGBTQ plus owned company that specializes in hosting LGBTQ plus travelers. Regardless of your preference, start your research by browsing through our accommodations providers to ensure you're staying with a hotel that's LGBTQ welcoming. And this is from iglta.org. In case you were wondering what this resource is, because they do have more travel information and travel guide information for members of our community that want to see the world and how to do so safely. They got a Pride calendar, all kinds of good stuff on here for you. Let's have a look at that Pride calendar real quick. Let's see what's going on. Here we go. We're into June. So today there was Disneyland After Dark Pride Night, House of Yes Pride event, and that's in New York. Munich Gay Pride in Germany, Philly Pride in Philadelphia, WeHo Pride recurring, and that's in West Hollywood. Euro Pride, I'm not going to try, yes I am. I'm going to try to say it. Thessaloniki. We got one in Oslo. We got Chicago, Cincinnati, Denver. So lots of pride going on right now and tomorrow. Tomorrow's a Friday night, so it should be pretty lit. So if you're traveling the world, there's events pretty much anywhere around the globe. Check it out. All right, and then let me see. Here's another resource from Great Value Vacations. Gives you transgender travel safety guide and resources here. So you can come out here to greatvaluevacations.com and you can pull up this section of the website, and it has some different resources down here that you can hop through. We've looked at a few of them, but this is from travelstate.gov, LGBT travel information. Attitude and tolerance towards lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender persons differ from country to country, just as they may vary among U.S. cities and states. Most LGBT travelers encounter no problem while overseas, but it helps to be prepared and research your destination carefully. Consider the laws and biases of each country and decide how open to be regarding your sexual orientation or gender identity. That's what I was saying. Depending on where you are, just prepare yourself accordingly. But these are some more resources. Got some checklists and precautions you can take. Changing the name on your passport and things like that's also included in here. This is also from travel.state.gov about traveling outside the U.S. and how to make sure that you get through the checkpoints and everything okay. And then Trans Equalities has some information and resources as well out here to keep you informed about any restrictions or anything that you might run into nationwide, including, it has a survey here where you can see sort of how people are ranking their travel experience. Trans Equality has the Know Your Rights section here, which is a good resource for knowing how and when to identify that you're being discriminated against as a member of the LGBTQ. So they'll make sure everybody's aware of this resource out here as well. Now the TSA has a gender diversity mission statement here about the way they're going to treat, specifically it's regarding trans travelers on this section here. So just to keep everybody aware of that. All right, so I think, okay, so now we have, this map's more up to date because it's not done yearly, it's done quarterly, but it's not as expansive. It doesn't show as much variety, but let's have a look anyway. See what we're dealing with. So these are states where it's legal to be, or yeah, nations where it's legal to be engaged in same-sex acts. As you can see, once again, our hotbed is Eastern Africa and the Middle East. Also, certain portions of Latin America and some of these islands in the South Pacific. So it's kind of hit and miss, but these are the kinds of places that people travel to on vacation. These islands out here, right? So you gotta look into these things. You don't want to show up there and find yourself as the target of discrimination. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share as my little segment for you guys today. So, as far as the summer goes, travel safe. Take care of yourself. If you know somebody who's traveling, you keep in contact with them. If you're traveling, you keep in contact with people back home. Make sure it's always great to know somebody where you're going and in your destination, or at least in the area of where you're going, just in case you need someplace safe to go to. But yeah, from the Transpositions Weekly, this has been Bree McCune.